Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 22nd of February, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So, one of crypto's most, prevailing mysteries is who is the identity, or what is the identity of the Ethereum 2016 DAO hacker. Now, for those of you who don't know, the DAO was kind of like one of the first ICOs in 2016 on Ethereum, this kind of like big initiative to basically pull a bunch of ETH together and then invest that ETH as part of the DAO in other projects. Now, this kind of like DAO, it was just called the DAO, also issued tokens, DAO tokens to people who put their ETH in. So, it was pretty much like a classical ICO here. Now, this DAO managed to attract a lot of ETH. A lot of ETH. I think it was 20% or something of all ETH in existence at the time, or something crazy like that. Probably more than that. And it basically drove ETH's price up as well to I think like $25 at the time during 2016 from around $5 or $10. So it was a huge deal. I mean, it was the biggest thing that had happened in Ethereum's history to that point. Yeah, Ethereum was quite young. It had only been around since mid 2015, but it was a big deal. Now, what ended up happening is that there was a bug in the DAO, a smart contract that allowed a hacker to kind of like exploit it and withdraw funds into a kind of like holding account, which after 30 days would have allowed the hacker to withdraw this ETH and keep the ETH. Now, of course, what ended up happening was that the community decided to do what was called an irregular state transition to fix that bug and take the ETH away from the hacker and basically return it to everyone. And then there was a fork in the chain, and Ethereum, continued on as the fork chain known as Ethereum, and the quote-unquote original chain existed as Ethereum Classic. So there was a bit of a divide in the community there, and the rest is history. Now, Laura Shin here claims that she's been able to find out the identity of the DAO hacker. Now, I'll take this with a grain of salt because this thread that she's put out here, she's really just promoting her new book. I mean, there are like 3/4 of the thread is literally links to her new book and links to her podcast and everything like that. I mean, not necessarily a bad thing or anything, but it is obviously kind of like a marketing PR strategy for her book, which just came out. But the excerpt from the book here is basically, or at least I'm not sure whether it's from the book or from somewhere else, that Darren has actually shared here, says that the DAO hacker appears to be Toby Hoenisch. I don't know if that's how you say his last name, who is a 36-year-old programmer who grew up in Austria and was living in Singapore at the time of the hack. Until now, he has been best known for his role as a co-founder and CEO of 10x. 10x turned out to be a scam, I'm pretty sure, which is funny enough, but 10x raised $80 million in a 2017 ICO to build a crypto debit card, an effort that failed. The market cap of those tokens, which spiked at 535 million, now sits at just 11 million. And yeah, 10x is one of those tokens that just got obliterated during the last bear market there. So look, take it with a grain of salt. Like, I haven't seen all the evidence or anything like that. This literally just came out like 10 minutes before I started recording. I saw this and I wanted to mention it on the refill today. But I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to let this kind of like cook for the next 24, 48 hours, see who comes forward with more evidence, see what kind of evidence there actually is, and see kind of like the OGs corroborating this story. Because, I mean, accusing someone so publicly of being like a high-profile hacker, you wouldn't want to do this unless you were like really sure it was the person, because this person can hit back and basically sue Laura for doing this, right? Depending on what jurisdiction. I mean, I know in Australia we have pretty strict kind of like libel laws. You can pretty much like sue anyone if they say something incorrect, and the courts basically side with the person suing a lot of the time. But yeah, just generally you want to be very, very sure before you kind of like make these kind of claims. So from what I've just seen so far in the last 10, 15 minutes, I saw a couple of people on Twitter, a couple of Ethereum OGs comment on this saying that it looks credible, it looks legit, but I'm not going to say that this is 100% correct, and then Toby is actually the DAO hacker. If he is, I mean, cool, we actually finally unmasked who it was like 6 years later. As I said, it's one of the crypto's longest prevailing mysteries, and the other one was the Bitfinex hacker, as Darren mentioned here, who we saw the last couple of weeks kind of get unmasked there, which also happened in 2016 around the same time. So quite funny how that kind of like worked out as well. But yeah, just wanted to highlight this for you guys. You can go check out Laura's thread, which, as I said, like most of it's just links to her book, so there's not much information there. And you can check out this tweet from Darren, as I just read out too. They'll both be linked in the YouTube description. But if anything kind of like happens around this over the next 24, 48 hours, I'll definitely cover it on, I guess, like the next refuels that I do. But yeah, for now, I guess you'll probably see a lot about this on Twitter. Maybe even by the time you watch this, it's already kind of like blown up on Twitter, which I'm sure it will be. So yeah. All right, so I put out this tweet today. I was just kind of like sitting on my computer. I was looking at the ETH chart, and I'm just like, man, Like, the price does just not want to go up right now. And then I put out this tweet where I said, it really does feel like 2019 again. There's an insane amount of good crypto news, and I've covered all of it on the Refuel. I mean, maybe not all of it, but like a lot of it on the Refuel. There's just like so much good news coming out pretty much every single day that is extremely positive for crypto. Conferences are packed with actual builders. The ETHDenver conference that just happened was the biggest ETHDenver ever. One of the biggest crypto conferences ever. Over 15,000 people in attendance, I think. The short-term, quote-unquote, moon boys are gone. So, like, the short-term speculators, most of them are completely gone. Like, they're definitely not hanging around when pretty much all the things that they bought are down, 70, 80%. And the market just isn't reacting positively to any of it. And then I finished the tweet by saying, just keep building and stacking. We all know what happened in 2020. Now, I mean, this is like, Twitter doesn't give you unlimited characters here, so that's why I like adding nuance to it on the Refuel. Look, I mean, 2019, like, none of us thought that 2020 was going to be as big as it was, and especially not 2021. Like, we were hanging around. I remember I was very active in 2019 at conferences, like, pretty much went to as many conferences as I could. The amount of people there was very tiny compared to what you see today, and it was like the depths of the bear market. ETH had basically come off its high of 1,400. It was hanging around $100 to $300, just ranging, and any kind of like pumps that we ever saw were just sold down. And I think at that point, people kind of like just got over that and were like, oh, whatever, the price is going to do what it's going to do. Let's just focus on the building, what we're doing here. Like, the first signs of DeFi were coming out. Everyone was really excited about that, and it was all kind of like happening there. And the conferences were awesome. I mean, like, the people, the energy was just insane. I really missed that. But like, I'm obviously looking forward to getting around that this year. But then 2020 happened, and it was a weird year, right? Like, 2020 happened. We had that massive crash in March, and everyone was like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? Like, we just went through a brutal 2019, and now we're going through, a lot of brutality here. And if you actually go look at the chart, January and February were really positive months for crypto. It felt like the bull market was back. And then we got that just one last kind of like stab down to $80 or $90, I think it was, for ETH. And then we continued back up from there and ended the year at about $700. And then within a month, we were back at all-time high in January 2021. So very interesting year, but not something that anyone expected. And that's why I said we all know what happened in 2020. Now, does that mean that we're going to go through like a bearish period in 2022 where the price isn't really going to do anything positive? It might just keep trending down. And then 2023 is going to be the explosive year where everything goes gangbusters again. I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously I don't know, but all I know is that as long as the builders are still around, as long as there's still really, really cool things being deployed to mainnet, as long as there's lots of positive news happening, I just have no reason to be bearish here. And, I was kind of like discussing this in the Discord channel today, and I was saying that people were like kind of wondering, like, why are we coming down? Like, why are we actually in a quote unquote bear market or in like a downtrend? Well, let's contextualize it. March 2020, ETH's $80. May 2021, ETH is $4,400. That is over a 40x increase in 14 months. Now, whenever the markets, and ETH wasn't the only asset that went up, obviously, a lot of assets went up. Now, whenever that happens in the markets, there's never enough liquidity out there to absorb the enormous amount of paper gains that people have made in a short amount of time. And as soon as the market starts coming down again, people want to sell. People want to protect their paper gains. And there's also leverage in the mix too, which just amplifies the whole thing because people leverage up way too much at the top, right? And get way too greedy, and it leads to that epic drop we saw in like a week from 4,400 to 1,700. That was one of the most brutal drops in crypto's history for ETH. And obviously it doesn't just apply to ETH, it applies to everything else. We also saw a lot of craziness around Dogecoin starting in Jan-Feb, and people were like, oh, this is a top signal, but we didn't top until May. So it's really hard to kind of like pinpoint those tops and bottoms. But at the same time, if an asset goes up over 40x in 14 months, obviously, a lot of people are going to be sitting a lot of profit. They're going to want to take that profit. And as I said, there is never, ever enough liquidity out there to service everyone. And that's why a lot of the smartest investors I know, if they want to scale out of a position, they'll sell on the way up. They won't even care if they don't, sell at the top or anything like that. If it's in a really strong uptrend, they're going to be selling into that because they know that eventually the music is going to stop and it's going to come down much faster than when it went up. And because obviously, fear is more powerful than greed here. Now, obviously, that is hard to do. It is not something that works every time. You are more likely to get success if you're an experienced investor rather than a new investor. And for a lot of people, it pays just to be a long-term investor. But for the people that I know that did this, they cashed out and weren't planning on buying back in. They were buying, obviously houses, they're buying cars, stuff like that. Like, obviously, when you make money, you want to spend it. You're not just going to keep it in, an asset forever. But they still have exposure to crypto. It's not like they had cashed out everything. And, I've sold things as well. Like, I didn't sell my ETH, but I've sold other things that I invested in over time too, because there's no use kind of like just watching number go up and not taking any profits to actually enjoy the money that you've made. And that just, amplify that across pretty much everyone in this ecosystem. And as I said, there's never enough kind of like dollars to absorb all of that, especially after such a massive move in a short period of time. So, I mean, that's kind of like what's always going to happen in the crypto ecosystem. You have to be wary of that. You definitely, like the old saying goes, be fearful when others are greedy. In crypto, I mean, it's funny because like the greed rears its head like pretty quickly. I mean, I would actually argue that people were getting real greedy when ETH was at $700, but then ETH ended up going to $4,400. So if you sold at 700 thinking, oh, I'm going to buy back in because everyone's greedy, it's going to dump. I mean, you wouldn't, it's not even anywhere close to 700. It didn't even get close to 700 during that massive dump in May of 2021. So timing these things is basically, I mean, not impossible, but it's very, very hard. So that's why, I'm always a big advocate of being a long-term investor. And then over the long term, you can take, you can take profits at the point that you want to take them at kind of thing. But trying to trade and time the market, I personally not had much success there. I know a lot of people that have had way, worse experiences than I have. They've blown themselves up. They've just completely gone out of position because they thought it was going to dump really hard, but it ended up like pumping. Then they bought back higher, and then it dumps, of course, and all that kind of stuff there. But yeah, just as I said in this tweet, keep building. Keep stacking if you got the ability to do so without without kind of like putting in too much money that you can't afford to lose or anything like that, and just get more involved in the ecosystem on the fundamental side. There's no point staring at the charts at this point in time, or just generally, there's no point staring at the charts because, like, right now we're just kind of like in this thing where I don't really think there's many humans trading this market. It's a lot of bots, and bots are just kind of like reading like random signals and things like that. Not random signals, but like pre-programmed signals, and it just isn't a very fun kind of like market to be watching right now. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Just a little bit of, I guess, like a general kind of like overview of how I'm thinking about things right now. And obviously, I think the best thing to do right now is just to get more involved with crypto on the builder side. All right, so Bert Miller from Flashbots announced a MEV-Explore V1 is now live. So major updates include users MEV inspect Pi, which is, I'm assuming, like a Python kind of like library, added Uniswap V3 and fixed a bug where some sandwich attacks were classified as arbitrages. And he says, please note these numbers are lower bound estimates and not reflective of all MEV extracted. Now, obviously, you guys have heard a lot about MEV over the probably last year or so, I guess, probably more than that at this point. And this dashboard, it's not new. I've highlighted it before, but there's a bunch of updates here, so I wanted to highlight again. It shows you the lower bound of the MEV that's been extracted over time on the Ethereum network. So you can see here that the cumulative extracted MEV went up massively as obviously the bull market kicked in, which was around I guess like May 2021 was where prices came off, but like so the thing is, I guess there was two phases of the bull market here. There was the ETH and BTC phase, which lasted until about May 2021. Then there was kind of like the quote unquote alt phase and like the L1 phase, which lasted until November-ish, and ETH and BTC went up during that as well. But you can see here kind of like the jumps in the MEV and how much MEV is being extracted over time. So as I said, this is the lower bound. Apparently there's been $600 million of total MEV extracted on Ethereum over time, but that's probably much higher. It could be much higher, right? And on this dashboard, it shows you different kind of like MEV classifications if you want to drill down into it, and network activity from extracted MEV, all this sort of stuff here. So this is a really cool dashboard. Just wanted to put it on your radar. Definitely go check it out for yourself and kind of like dive deep into everything going on here. So zkSync is teasing something at an Ethereum block 14,256,320, which I believe at time of recording, it is only another hour or so away. So obviously you'll find out maybe before you even watch this, but my assumption or my kind of like guess about what this is kind of like zkSync 2.0 on testnet, or maybe even on mainnet. People were kind of speculating whether this is going to be the token launch. I don't think so, guys. Like, it doesn't make sense for zkSync to launch a token at this point in time. They still don't have zkSync 2.0, zk Port or anything like that live yet. So a token would just kind of like be pointless at this point in time and actually distract from just getting these kind of like things out there and stuff built out there. So curious to see what this is. I only brought it up on the refill because I want to see if I'm right about my prediction here about what it actually is. But also, I guess like if you haven't seen it yet, definitely by the time you've watched this, it'll probably be getting announced soon, depending when you've watched it. And I'm curious to see what it is. So yeah. All right, so Loopring has kind of put out a tweet today saying open NFT minting is coming to Loopring L2. Anyone can mint NFTs for under $2 on Ethereum's faster plus cheaper second layer with the security of Ethereum L1. Now, friendly reminder here that Loopring is a zk rollup. It is not an optimistic rollup, so it is kind of like obviously inheriting Ethereum security just like an optimistic rollup, but using a zk rollup instead here. They've been making big moves into the NFT ecosystem. Obviously, there are other kind of like layer 2s out there, like Immutable X, but Immutable X is not a zk rollup. It is a Validium. That's why Immutable X can offer you free minting, because they store data off-chain, whereas Loopring stores data on-chain as part of their zk rollup construction. But I still think minting NFTs for under $2 is pretty damn good at this point in time, and that's just going to get cheaper over time too, because as I mentioned yesterday, there's a lot of stuff going on the core protocol side to lower the gas costs of posting data to L1, and this is very beneficial for optimistic rollups, but also beneficial for zk rollups as well. So we could see zk rollup NFT minting potentially under 10 cents sooner rather than later. I'm pretty excited about that, but I'm excited for it to come to Loopring anyway, even if it's just under $2 here. All right, so Polygon put out a blog post today discussing a new proof of efficiency protocol that they have come up with for Polygon Hermes. So this is a new kind of like consensus protocol here that you can kind of like read about. This blog post was published yesterday. I think I've discussed this before, but there wasn't a blog post out about it. I think they kind of like put a teaser out about it or anything like that. But yeah, this blog post gives you an overview of what this is, along with Polygon's ZK thesis, of course, with a bunch of images. So just wanted to put this on your radar to go check out, see what's going on here, because I think Polygon's going to have a big year when it comes to ZK stuff. I mean, all of their teams are teasing ZK EVM testnets this year, and I think Hermes is definitely teasing a ZK EVM on mainnet this year, which is obviously a big deal. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see kind of like if that actually happens, but definitely do your reading on zero knowledge stuff. I think zero knowledge stuff, layer 2 stuff in general, is where you should be spending most of your time right now and learning about it, because, I mean, while the markets are quiet, like it's less distractions and you can learn about all this fundamental stuff, that's going to be a very big deal going forward. And not just layer 2 stuff, but also core layer 1 protocol things like dank sharding and stuff like that. Definitely going to be super important going forward and has a lot to do with the layer 2 ecosystem as well. All right, so Orbiter Finance, I brought these guys up a few weeks ago, one of the new kind of like bridges on Ethereum. They're still in alpha, but they now support a bunch of different networks. So they support, obviously, Ethereum mainnet, but as well as zkSync, Arbitrum, Polygon, and Optimism, which is really cool. So you can go to orbiter.finance in order to kind of like bridge between these chains, and they're saying that more networks will be supported. So I'm assuming they're going to support all EVM-compatible networks, whether they be L2, L1s, or side chains, which is really cool. As usual with these bridges, guys, like be careful with them, because basically they're kind of like very new, very kind of like untested. This is in alpha. You could lose funds. Always kind of like do your due diligence here. And I think the way Orbiter works from memory is that it is a kind of like cross chain exchange rather than just kind of like a bridge. So basically it's like a hop or a connects where you swap assets between different chains. So there's probably, I mean, I don't know how the Orbiter system works under the hood, but there's probably less risk there than one of the other bridges. But still, always good to kind of like I guess like take that risk into account and make sure that that you know what you're doing, you know what assets you're bridging, you know what's happening under the hood to protect yourself. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't know if they support all these chains right now, because they're saying more networks will be supported. I think in their bio they say they only support zkSync and Arbitrum right now, so I'm assuming that either Polygon and Optimism are coming soon, or they're supporting it now. I mean, I'd click on this link here, but I don't know what wallet's selected in MetaMask, and I don't want that popping up and ruining my privacy, so I'm not going to do that right now. But you can go check it out for yourself anyway there. All right, last L2 related update. So L2 Beat, for those of you who don't know, are hosting a layer 2 conference in Amsterdam. Now, they have opened up attendee applications in this kind of like Google Doc here, which you can go fill out. I'll link this in the YouTube description. So if you want to attend, you definitely need to fill this out. It took me like less than 60 seconds to fill it out. I'm definitely hoping that I can get a slot there. Not sure how many kind of like tickets are available for this. I'm sure that it is going to be a very oversubscribed event, as it is dedicated to Ethereum's layer 2 ecosystem, and it is going to be as part of the kind of like Dev Connect event that's happening in Amsterdam there. The one that I'm like so excited about, this guy, like I can't wait at this point, guys. Like I'm so excited about it. I'm more excited than a kid waiting for Christmas, that's for sure. But yeah, I hope to see a lot of you there. Even if you don't get accepted to this, there's so many events happening in Amsterdam around that ETHDev Connect. I think there's like 10 days worth of events happening. So if you want to kind of like get involved and be there, you don't necessarily have to go to this layer 2 event or get accepted to be there. So I'm hoping to see a lot of you there anyway. But if you want to, definitely go, I guess, sign up using this form, and hopefully you'll be able to attend the Layer 2 conference in Amsterdam. So Elizabeth here from the ChainSafe team put together a thread on something that she worked at with a bunch of people. With one other person, Jimmy here at ETHDenver. So she worked on a privacy project. So it's a peer-to-peer method for delinking accounts and transactions that happens entirely off-chain. So there isn't an explicit on-chain trace of mixing coins transactions. The motivation for this was that currently you need to use Tornado Cash or a similar mixer to mix coins before deploying interacting with a contract to delink it from your usual account, but it's evident that you mixed your coins. The solution is similar to an off-chain coin swap that uses some crypto magic called adapter signatures. The repos that they built are available here, and they plan to continue working on this and eventually have people try it out. Next steps are to fix all the bugs from the hackathon, of course, right? As you guys know, privacy is part of my one of my big kind of like theses for crypto. Always happy to highlight this sort of stuff. Always happy to highlight innovative stuff as well. That's kind of like trying to do off-chain stuff. Obviously, there is the Phone On Network project that is trying to do off-chain stuff as well. A lot of privacy stuff there happening too. But we need more and more of these tools. I mean, I think people really underestimate how bad it is that we don't have proper privacy on chain. It may be okay now because not really many people are looking at it, but in the future, like you can imagine kind of like being blacklisted for things because a government agency looks at your on-chain history and basically says, well, these are all your addresses and we're going to force these exchanges to blacklist you so you can't actually cash out. And there have already, I mean, exchanges have blacklisted plenty of addresses in the past because they've been tied to criminal activity and things like that. But I mean, as we've seen from the recent recent events in Canada, the government can just order private companies to do do their bidding. Like, you know, I said this on the Ether podcast today, but basically, who is a bank going to listen to or a centralized exchange going to listen to? A massive government or an individual? Like, whose side are they going to take? They're going to take the government side. And that, you know, is what we're trying to build to resist against because we know that's going to happen. So we need privacy tools as part of our toolkit there. We can't just rely on the DeFi tools if they're transparent, because that is only half the battle. The other half, I mean, I guess like that's a quarter of the battle. You know, there's the scalability, there's the privacy aspect, and then there's the circular economy aspect, which basically means that we need a way to make it so that you can have a closed loop so that you don't have to rely on centralized exchanges for cashing in and out, right? And a closed loop means basically you do everything on crypto rails using decentralized products, not using centralized stablecoins and centralized debit cards, but using like fully decentralized products with privacy preserving technology. We're a long way away from that, guys. Like, as much as I love a lot of the stuff that's being built, for it to be ubiquitous, for it to be the standard, for it to be cheap and scalable, it's still a few years away at least. And I would actually argue for it to be be part of like kind of the default and mainstream, it's 5 to 10 years away sort of thing. But we have to build the infrastructure today. We have to build the tools today. We have to start training users to use this sort of stuff before we can actually move to a point where it's ubiquitous and it's mainstream. So every little bit helps, and you know, every hackathon project helps. There's so many hackathon projects that turn into like mega projects on Ethereum. So if you think that it's just because it happened at a hackathon that a project isn't going to go far, or it's a small project, think again, guys. Like, a lot of the time, projects go very, very far after hackathons, and some of your favorite projects were born out of hackathons as well there. All right, so we have a pretty big update from Status today about their kind of like app being reborn. So they're calling this Crypto Plus Social, which is coming in early 2023. So given that this is a big update, it's taking a while to come out. 2023, obviously about a year away, early 2023. But in this video, they share what's coming. So privacy first messaging, ad hoc group messaging, fully decentralized, token gated communities with a group chat, token gated channels, token gated privileges. And unlike Discord, they can't shut the communities down. A bunch of other integrations you can see on the video here. Sorry if I'm stuttering, guys. I'm just reading off what the video is showing because there's not a thread about this. But, you know, so many features coming. This seems like a complete reimagination of what the Status app is going to be and what it can enable, which is really cool because, the original Status vision was to be this. They've been building since 2017. They raised a massive ICO back then. They have a ton of money. I mean, they also had a token, which hasn't really performed very well because it's kind of useless from what I can tell. But they've been trying to do Web3 decentralized, messaging stuff since 2017, since before it was cool. And there's a ton going on like in this preview that they're showing here. And the fact that they're saying it's coming in early 2023 means that it's probably early days for this sort of stuff. But I'm super excited about this. I mean, like if they can actually pull all this off and build all of this and kind of like do it in a way that is actually user friendly, they could blow up really quickly in terms of an app that people use as like their default. Like imagine having an app for basically everything you want to do, right? Crypto wallet, private messaging, being part of communities through token gating, doing obviously NFT stuff, doing DeFi stuff, privacy first, all these sorts of stuff, right? And they're saying multi-chain wallet too. I mean, imagine all of that in kind of like one app. That's a big undertaking, and that's why it's going to take a little while for it to get to be released. But I feel like it's going to be really cool once it happens. Now you can download the Status app right now. There are a bunch of features already live on it, but obviously a lot of the features that they're teasing here, or pretty much all of them that they're teasing here, aren't available right now. But I'm super excited about it, just like I'm super excited about all of the Web3 stuff that's happening. Well, most of the Web3 stuff that it's happening, not all of it. Some of it's kind of like just whack, to be honest. Like I read a tweet today that someone was saying that the DAO infrastructure space is in a massive bubble right now because there just seems to be hundreds of projects trying to build DAO infrastructure, when in reality, we only need maybe a few, right? Maybe less than 10, 10 kind of like DAO infrastructure projects. Maybe not even that. Depends on what the infrastructure is. But that's kind of like how it works, right? 90% plus of companies fail. And these crypto apps and services, they're companies at the end of the day. 90% of them will fail. They're not immune to that. That's just what happens. But the 10%, or even maybe less than that, maybe 5 to 10% that succeed can go on to become massive billion-dollar companies. And we see that play out in the traditional startup world, in TradFi, in tech, and we see that play out with crypto as well. And that's what I think actually catches a lot of people off guard, is that they end up buying these tokens because the tokens are liquid like really early on, and they think that just because this project has a token, has like a really ambitious roadmap, and has all these cool things coming, that it's like 100% guaranteed to succeed, and they go like all in on this token, and the token does nothing because, one, I mean, a lot of the tokens have no actual value accrual. Two, the chance of a startup succeeding is extremely low. And three, a lot of these tokens are given out for free as part of liquidity mining programs, which just puts more pressure on the token. And kind of like more sell pressure on it. So I think when you kind of like take all that together, you can see why things are so volatile, while bull markets catch people off guard, and why people need to be very careful about what they kind of throw their money into. Like, as I said, Status has a token called SNT. Came out in 2017. They raised, I think, $150 million in an ICO. The token, I don't know how much it's down by right now. I mean, I can probably look it up right now. It's down by a lot at this point, I would have to say. Like, I don't remember anyone talking about it. It's down 92% from its all-time high. Its all-time high was 4 years ago, like over 4 years ago, I think, at this point in time. It had a little bit of a pump into May 2021, but still. And that's down 92% against USD. I don't even know what it's down against ETH, probably a lot more than that. So the product is sound. They're still building a lot of different things. And Status also has a team called Nimbus that they built like a client, an ETH2 client around too. So obviously doing a lot of good work for the ecosystem, but none of that has translated to the token because the token literally has no value accrual mechanism. It's pretty much useless. So just a note there for you guys, a prime example of what happens when you kind of like want to bet on a team and bet on what they're building, and you bet on their token, which is not the right way to bet on it. And it kind of like goes to shit like that. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.